McCarthy addressed that last night.
I haven't been part of any of those type of discussions. I think, like a lot of things, when you hit a part of your season or any challenge where there is negativity out there and where it comes from and who it comes from, I mean, that's something that, I've never chased, but I think you do have to recognize it. I think it's important to handle things as men. I mean, if you do have something to say publicly that is of most importance, I think it's important to say it to the individual, particularly in a group dynamic setting, and especially in a game of football, especially for the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, and so my crew is ready to go. Dominique and Ryan and Desmond and Dan Graziano. And Nick, I will start with you. We've now reached the predictable stage of the season where the Cowboys are anonymously criticizing the coach. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't really matter necessarily. This is what happens when you're on a bad team is people chirp and get upset. And McCarthy's talking about, I wish that people would say it to my face. That's what everyone says, but no one really wants people to come in and tell them that they stink at their job. And the bottom line is he's not good at his job right now. And that's all that matters. I know much was made of how McCarthy was going to come in and he was going to be the tough guy that was going to whip everybody in shape like he was Principal Joe Clark. That doesn't work. All that works is putting people in position to do the right thing and to succeed. If you're a tough guy talking trash and you put people in position to succeed, they will like and respect you. If you're a soft guy who wants to talk to people and build relationships, if you put them in position to succeed, they will respect and like you. That's all you have to do is I know I make it sound easy when you say that's all you have to do, but the job is to be a good coach and prepare your team, and all the other ancillary stuff is irrelevant.
Well, RC, I sort of want to pick it up there because I'm old enough to remember when Mike McCarthy was supposed to be exactly what the Cowboys needed after all that time where Jason Garrett was too easy on the players and he was going to come in and shake things up and be the disciplinarian that team needed. That wasn't that long ago, RC. What happened?
Listen, you can't behave like Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick and lose football games because then all you become is Eric Mangini and Matt Patricia. And that's what we're seeing here. He hasn't developed those relationships. He hasn't been in that locker room and gotten to points with players where they respect him, where players feel like they can come to him, where they feel like there's a way that I can go talk to Mike McCarthy and let him know I don't think that these things are going well, and not only be respected, but respect him as I go there. And so if you're going to behave this way, if you are going to puff your chest out and say, you know what, these are conversations we should have man to man, you should be doing your job. Make no mistake about it. This is what happens when you are losers, right? This is a symptom of losing. Losing is the disease. And when you have a room full of losers, when you have an organization full of losers, and the one leader that you at least have is now on IR, these things start to surface. And so now you have a team of players that aren't doing their jobs, obviously, that are looking for someone else to blame it on. And Mike McCarthy is the obvious target because he ain't Jason Garrett, because he's not their friend. He's not their guy. So for Mike McCarthy, it's going to be about winning and getting them to do the right things on the field, like Dominique says, not about face-to-face, man-to-man, let's see who's more swole conversations.
So, Desmond, now what? Now you're a player on a team and you walk in and everyone has seen this. Everyone is aware that some of their teammates, if you're not one of them, who has been anonymously calling out the coach. What happens now in Dallas? Did we lose Desmond? He's frozen by the genius of my question. Let me turn to you then, Dan Graziano, if I can.
You know what? He's frozen like these Big Ten offenses this week.
No. Don't start picking on my favorite conference. There's no need for that. We're in such a good rhythm here. Let's not get off track. All right, Desmond is back. Desmond is back. Desmond, you're a player in that locker room. Am I good? Well, yeah, you're good. What happens now? Right? Your teammates are criticizing the coaches and all this stuff is going on, and now you're in there trying to do your job. What happens now?
I have a little different take than RC and Neek. I think that when Neek mentioned, no coach wants to be told to his face that he's doing a terrible job. Well, guess what, Neek? No player wants to be told to his face that he's doing a terrible job either. I mean, when you turn on the tape, I'm like, what's this? If you sit in my office, I'm going to say, okay, well, you think I'm not doing my job. Let's look at this tape right quick, buddy. Who's this not chasing this play down? Who's this guy not filling the gap? Who's this guy getting beat deep because... so it's a two-way street. Now, I look at it like they're dealing with grown men. We all play in the NFL, Neek, RC. Listen, you're responsible for what you put on tape. Whether you believe in the scheme or not, whether you think it works or not, that's besides the point. You know why? Because you're playing for another contract. Whether Mike McCarthy makes it in Dallas or not, that's none of your business. You know why? Because you want to have a long career. And the only way you're going to do that is to go out there and do your damn job. Now, the second part is you have absolutely no leadership in the locker room. You know why? Because there's a Tekashi in the locker room. And you're letting him infiltrate the whole locker room. And he's going out there now telling beat reporters, I don't like this. Coach can't do that. So you got to get the Tekashi out the locker room. This is the time where you need to have a team meeting and try to squash all of that. You might not be able to salvage your season, but personally,
you had me up until the team meeting.
Selfishly, you might want to get things a little better.
You had us all rolling up until you called the team meeting. Because all that's gonna happen at the team meeting is everybody gonna lie. Nobody gonna be like, I said it. Like, it's a waste of time. You can have the Monday morning meeting that you have after the game, and you go ahead and say, look here, somebody talking trash. You got something to say it. Then everybody gets quiet. Nobody raises their hand. No one says what they was whispering about. The bottom line is everyone has to do your job. And I agree with you. You're playing for a contract. You're not playing for Mike McCarthy necessarily. But if you believe that Mike McCarthy is putting you in position that is shortening your career or putting you in position that does not make you look good, whether it's right or wrong, you can be upset at that. All of us have been on teams where coaches have made mistakes, been on teams where players have made mistakes. I think it's bad to be pointing fingers behind people's back, but I do understand the frustration.
Absolutely,
if it is
bad,
true,
right.
If they are not properly preparing them, I completely understand the frustration because you're putting my career in jeopardy.
Go ahead, Des. Oh, he froze again. Can you believe this? It's like the best conversation that we've had all season, and it keeps freezing. But I'll handle it gracefully because I'm a pro. So, RC, let me come back to you then on that thought, which is, doesn't there need to be, now maybe this is just a person who never played talking, but doesn't someone need to get up in the middle of that locker room, whether it's a player, probably can't be a coach at this point, it has to be a player, and say, guys, this nonsense stops now. Anyone has anything to say, they say it out loud in this room right now, and then that's going to be the end of that. Because if no leader steps forward and does something, this thing is just going down the tubes. And oh, by the way, this team is still in first place. Doesn't someone need to do that, RC?
No, you know what a leader needs to do? A leader in this locker room right now needs to point a finger at themselves, whether it's DeMarcus Lawrence or Jalen Smith or Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott needs to get into the middle of the locker room and say, I fumbled the ball twice. I put us in the bad position. It doesn't matter what Mike McCarthy is doing. I did this. And not say, hey, we all need to get better, or we all need to stop snitching, or we all need to band this thing together and keep everything in the locker room. Somebody needs to get up and show accountability. Somebody needs to stand up and say, this is how you do it, and this is how we will do it moving forward. What this shows me is not only is it a loser's mentality, but there's no one to follow. See, it's not about leading and what your word says. It's about your actions. And if somebody in that locker room who people respect, at least from a monetary standpoint, finally stands up and say, you know what? I have to be better. I'm not worried about you. I'm not worried about Tekashi 6ix9ine. I'm not worried about the fact that 50 Cent was his mentor. I'm worried about me. I'm going to focus on me this week. And then that tells the rest of the people in the locker room that maybe you should focus on yourself too.
And I'm going to make Dominic Foxworth's day by handing him this one, which is, Neek, if Dak Prescott was still there right now, don't you think that things would be a little bit better than they are in Dallas?
I mean, the nonsense that people have been saying about Dak is based on that first season when it seems like that team was really talented and they were carrying him. And everyone's kept that narrative going as if it was